Hey friends, Ash here with Gents. Today coming at you guys with a list video of 5 rich and sweet fragrances that I'll still wear in the summertime, like right now. So these are fragrances that people would usually think of more as like a fall fragrance or a wintertime fragrance, cool weather, cold weather, nighttime, stuff like that. But each one of these I'll still pull out and wear in the summer, during the daytime, whatever, I don't care. And really, you could do this with pretty much any wintertime fragrance, just like you could wear summertime fragrances in wintertime. Now, with pretty much every review I do, I'll tell you whether I think a fragrance is more a daytime or nighttime fragrance, wintertime, fall time, summertime, whatever, you know the drill. But at the end of the day, it's you or me that's going to be wearing the fragrance. And if you want to wear a wintertime fragrance in summer, if that's what makes you happy, then do it. What I would say though, is that generally if you're going to wear a cool weather, cold weather, rich, dense, warm fragrance in summer when it's really hot outside, dial those sprays back a little bit. If you're going to wear a fresh fragrance, a really aquatic fragrance in wintertime, maybe amp it up a little bit. Basically, that was a long-winded version of me just saying, wear what you want when you want, just take into consideration how the temperature is, where you're going, who you're going to be around, stuff like that. All right, all that out of the way, let's jump into this. All right, first up, big fragrance from the house of Parfums de Marly, super popular fragrance, big compliment puller, beast mode performer, very versatile, Layton. There is also, of course, Layton Exclusif, which has some more animalic notes in there. It's got oud, and it builds upon the DNA in the original Layton, but for me, I prefer the original a little bit over the Exclusif version. This has vanilla, apple, cardamom, some citrus, pepper, lavender, sandalwood. There's a lot going on in here. Some people have said that it's a little bit like a luxurious niche version of Boss Bottled, Hugo Boss Bottled. And that's mainly going to be due to the spice and the apple that's in here. So this one definitely is sweet, rich, and dense. Like I said, a powerful performer as well. So this is one that in the high heat, really don't want to go too heavy on the trigger because it could come across cloying. But as I mentioned, it's a huge compliment puller, a fragrance that people seem to really love and gravitate toward. And this one also doubles up as a great nighttime fragrance as well, which really all of these fragrances here do. This one, just a really nice blend, fruity sweetness of sweet, sexy spices, woods, and a bunch of vanilla. So this is one that I don't mind wearing even when it's warm outside, especially on days like today. Actually, this is perfect because it's just a little bit windy, kind of cool for this time of year. So something like this is going to cut right through, and when the wind blows that and people pick up that scent trail, it's going to work really well. Next up, a fragrance I've talked about a lot on this channel. It's one I fell in love with immediately. It's one I still love. It's from a very popular line of fragrances, one of the newer flankers in that line, Armani Code. Absolute. So this one, as I've spoken about a number of times, and I think a lot of people have really, is quite similar to Code Profumo. Only maybe if you take Armani Code Profumo and refine it a little bit, make it not quite as in your face, make it slightly more sophisticated. All that being said, it is still a very sweet fragrance. And it's actually not super far off from an older Armani Code flanker called Armani Code Ultimate, which had kind of a flip-flopped bottle design where the cap was close to this color and then the body was black. It has tonka, vanilla, suede, nutmeg, and orange as some of the notes in here. And from this point forward, I think each one of the fragrances has tonka in it. Tonka or coumarin, really, really popular in fall and wintertime fragrances. And nighttime fragrances, going to give you a nice sweet touch that's extremely, extremely well received by people in general. Sometimes a little bit of creaminess with that, depending on how it's used. But yeah, from this point forward, a lot of tonka. This one is really effervescent initially, really sparkles, jumps off your skin, really, really attention grabbing. Which is something you don't see super often in fall and wintertime fragrances. A lot of times that's more saved for like a ginger and citrus summertime kind of scent, but with this one, just really leaps off your skin. It's one that, even though it's really sweet, you can wear formally. It's great to the office, daytime, nighttime, whatever. That one can do a lot of different things. Very versatile. So, number 2 on this list, Armani Code Absolute. Up next, a fragrance from Roberto Cavalli, Uomo La Notte. And I've talked about this one a few times. This one has a little bit of a similarity to Carolina Herrera CH Men Privé. So if you like that fragrance, this one is going to remind you of that one, though I do think this one overall is the better scent. And this line, Cavalli Uomo, actually is really solid. Each one of the fragrances that I've smelled from this line has been of a good quality, very versatile, easy to wear kind of fragrances, and they don't cost all that much money either. As I mentioned with the last fragrance, this one does have tonka, and like CH Men Privé, you're also going to find a leather note in here, which is very prominent. It's a sweet, spicy fragrance. The leather, not animalic. It's really a sweet kind of leather, like CH Privé. Maybe some people would call it slightly boozy, even though that's not a note here, but it's that type of leather scent. So not a rough and tumble leather, not a black leather, not like one of those leather jacket type scents. That's not what this is at all. It smells great though, and that is the 3rd fragrance in this list. Next, a fragrance from the house of Guerlain. It's from their L'Homme Ideal line, and you can really go with about any of them here. And by that, I mean they're cooler weather fragrances. So the Eau de Parfum, L'Intense, possibly the new one that I haven't smelled yet, but the one I'm going with here is the original, the Eau de Toilette. You can usually find this one for a pretty good price from discounters. L'Homme Ideal Cologne, for the longest time, was the cheapest. You could find that for like 20 bucks, 25 bucks. That one's been discontinued, and I think that the stock is starting to run dry, so the price has started to creep up on Ideal Cologne. And then the Eau de Parfum has usually been a bit more expensive than this one. So as far as the Ideal line outside of Cologne, this one has typically been the most affordable. It's got almond, tonka, leather, citrus, some woods in there as well. So this one is really the one that set off the almond note being used across this entire line. So in the L'Homme Ideal line, each one of the fragrances features almond fairly prominently. That's kind of what ties all these fragrances together, and this one kicked that off. For a lot of people, they'll actually say almond is the most noticeable note in this fragrance to them. Almond is going to give you this nice creaminess to the fragrance, and that's certainly present here. It's got citrus off the top, so it's going to give you that nice fresh pop right away when you spray this on. As it dries down, you're going to get some tonka sweetness, a little bit of leather. Again, the leather in here is not going to be one of those dirty animalic leathers. This is a very, very wearable, versatile fragrance. Easily dressed up, dressed down, wear it casually, wear it formally, wear it on a date, wear it to the office. You can do pretty much anything with this one right here. The almond, probably going to be the note in here that throws people the most. Some people, if they're not used to that note, may not dig it, but for me personally, really, really like it. I actually love this entire line. And L'Homme Ideal Eau de Toilette, one of the fragrances that I don't mind to bust out in the summer, even though it's a fall fragrance. And the last one on this list is the oldest fragrance of the bunch, but this one it's almost like a modern classic to an extent. Chanel Allure Homme. Not too much in there right now. So this one came out in the late 90s, whereas most of these other fragrances came out over the past few years. So this one definitely the elder statesman of this video. It's got vanilla, lemon, peach, ginger, and tonka. That's some of the notes in the fragrance, and really if you go on Fragrantica, there are a whole bunch of notes in this fragrance. So you've got a lot of fruits, a lot of sweetness off the top of the scent, but it never comes across like a sugary fragrance or an overly youthful fragrance. Certainly a young guy can pull this off easily, but somebody middle-aged and up can pull this off as well. It's not something I would pigeonhole into having to be worn by a particular age group. Great daytime fragrance, great nighttime fragrance, office, formal, date night. This you can do just about anything with, and it makes sense because it's just released as Allure Homme. It's just supposed to be like a catch-all kind of fragrance, similar to Bleu de Chanel, only being released much earlier and not being a blue fragrance. So not like Bleu de Chanel, but like it in the sense that you can use it whenever you want. It does have a little of that effervescent pop from ginger, so it does have a little bit of that sparkle, a little bit of that attention-grabbing ginger in the opening that so many people love, and I myself love it as well. And then you've got vanilla in there playing a very prominent role, giving you sweetness throughout the lifetime of the scent. There is a fragrance that smells a little bit similar to this that you can pick up usually really cheaply if you like Chanel Allure Homme, but you don't want to spend the price to get Chanel Allure Homme. You can get Perry Ellis M for men, and that one is similar. It's not as high quality, it doesn't smell the exact same, but it's going to give you a similar vibe. The difference is that one typically is going to run you between $12 and $15, which is a lot less than a Chanel will. I mean, between the two, obviously, I would take the Chanel all day, every day, 7 days a week, but Perry Ellis isn't bad. If I was a teenager again, you know, didn't have a ton of money, I'd probably go that way, that route. And with the Perry Ellis, you do have to be careful because there's another fragrance and the same bottle style with a very slightly different color, a very slightly different name, and it is not at all similar to Chanel Allure Homme. So if you're gonna buy that one, make sure you get the right one. And that, guys, is gonna wrap up this video of 5 different fragrances that are rich and sweet that you would typically think of as fall fragrances, wintertime fragrances, nighttime fragrances that I will bust out and wear in summertime right now. And there's actually a whole bunch of other fragrances besides these that I'll do that with. I mean, it's actually worthwhile to do that sometimes. For example, I wore Chrome Aqua, a summertime fragrance, in the middle of winter, and it worked for me better in winter than summer. It smelled better. It came off my skin with almost like this icy freshness, and Chrome Aqua ended up smelling even better in really cold weather. So I started to wear that in the winter time. So sometimes it makes sense to switch it up. Wear a wintertime fragrance in summer, or wear a summertime fragrance in winter. You might be surprised sometimes at how these fragrances come across in different temperature settings, different situations. Might actually smell better to you. All right, guys, that's gonna do it for me. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Thanks for all your support. See you guys tomorrow with another fragrance video. See you guys.